Broadcasting live from the Finley Chevrolet Studios. Your home for Los Angeles Dodgers baseball and the Batter Wolfpack Sports. CBS Sports Radio 1140, a radio.com sports station.
There we go.
We've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
It's Silver and Black today.
Stand by.
On CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gulbransen.
Good morning, Las Vegas, and welcome back to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Las Vegas's only All Raiders talk show, Silver and Black today. Of course, back for yet another week. We're here with the latest on the hometown team, your Las Vegas Raiders, and it wasn't an excessively busy news week, but there was plenty of news in Raider football for us to talk about. I'm Scott Gulbransen. I'm the founder of silverandblacktoday.com. You can also find the city's only independent Raiders news source, the only one covering the Raiders based right here in Las Vegas at silverandblacktoday.com. Make sure you check it out. Also, as always, we are streaming this show live via the radio.com app. If you don't have it, check it out. Make sure you do. You can catch the audio there. Also, we stream the show live via video on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. We have been not doing that. Today's the first day I've been back with live video. I've had some issues. The way we connect to the station, well, I've had some audio issues. So today, if you're watching us on Facebook and on, YouTube, if I can spit it out there, appreciate you guys being here as well. But just if it looks like a Godzilla movie and my lips are not matching the audio, let me know. But hopefully we've worked that out. So we'll be back there. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can see that there, and you can get all of our videos as well as watching us on Facebook and Periscope. So thanks. There's great chat always. The group on YouTube with chat during this show is on fire. So make sure you go check it out and see it there as well. So do that, and we appreciate you doing that. On today's show, we take up one of the big topics this week, of course, in Raider Nation, the fact that the Raiders are the hottest ticket in the NFL, which now has them tops in the league with the most expensive tickets on the secondary market. Again, the secondary market, Raider Nation. So let's talk about what that means before everybody starts blaming the team for the ticket price. So anyway, and I'm getting some feedback that the audio and my video are a little off, and that's what I was afraid of. So we'll keep going anyway. So you'll have to deal with just pretend like you're watching Godzilla. All right. To talk about the ticket issue, we have a great guest today. Shlomo Sprung from Forbes will join us. He wrote about the climb in demand this week. He'll tell us why, despite a nationwide lockdown, the Raiders' tickets for Allegiant Stadium are at a premium. They're a hot ticket. That'll be right at 8:15 after the break. Also today, my guest co-host will be Evan Groat. He joins us as I said, as our guest co-host. Evan is the host of the popular Just Pod Baby Raiders podcast, which is now part of the Silver and Black Today Media Group. He'll talk about the Raiders returning to work since the NFL has laid out a protocol for teams to return to their headquarters. Not necessarily the players, but we'll talk through that a little bit. We also have updates on Allegiant Stadium and the Raiders' killer new headquarters in Henderson, and talk about the team's roster moves this week and more. Now I bring in my co-host for today, and that, of course, is our good friend Evan Groat from Just Pod Baby, who joins us remotely also, since we're all doing that, and he comes to us from just outside Buffalo, New York. Evan, thanks for your first guest co-host here on the Silver and Black today.
Good morning, Scott. Thanks for having me on, and I'm excited to be joining you guys today.
All right, good. Well, and Evan, I tell you what, the one thing I was going to jump into first, when you look at what's been going on in the world, I have to start with an NFL topic, because this week too, and of course it relates to all the teams, it relates to the Raiders, and the Raiders have had such an amazing history of diversity amongst hiring. I mean, they hired the first black head coach. They did all this stuff when they hired Art Shell. But this week we've heard that there's a proposal in front of the NFL saying that your draft position could be improved if you hire a black coach, minority coach, or a GM, meaning that, let's say I build a team for 10 years, okay, and I'm rewarded for that by draft position and stuff like that. Or let's say I just took over a team and I need to rebuild a team. Now, if a team goes out and hires a minority head coach or a GM, they might jump ahead of me, even though I have the greater need, even though they might have been the Super Bowl champions the year before. Evan, I listen, there is a serious issue with diversity in the NFL, in the coaching ranks, in the front office. There's no question. I think the core reason for this is they're mostly family businesses, believe it or not. And so what happens is people hire who they know, what they're used to. Now, I'm not excusing that. I'm not in any way saying that the issue doesn't exist. It does. It needs to be solved in some way or addressed. But to me, Evan, going out and punishing teams in the draft because other teams were able to, because of opportunity or whatever it may be, I think this is the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I totally understand the NFL's purpose of putting a rule like this in place. But it just seems silly to me to reward a team for bringing in a minority coach or general manager. It totally goes against the idea of hiring the best person for the job. So I mean, personally, I've seen a lot of feedback out there on this rule on Twitter, and it seems like a lot of people are against it. Both minority players have spoken out against how they feel it's a very foolish rule to put in place, and it's not really addressing the problem that the NFL has.
Yeah, and that's it. I think that's the issue. Again, it's okay if this is a issue that the NFL owners want to take up, because it should be, right? You should address the elephant in the room. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is prescribing a solution when you don't understand the core issue of the problem and why it's happening. So tell me, why is the NFL not as equitable as other leagues, let's say, in the hiring of coaches or front office folks? And actually, I know a lot of the focus, Evan, goes on the coaching ranks, but it's an even bigger problem in the front offices. If you look at the front offices of NFL teams, that's where you really see, I think, a lack of diversity. And again, the Raiders were at the forefront of this, whether it was Art Shell, whether it was Amy Trask, you name it, whether it was going back to the 60s with Tom Flores as their quarterback, right, and as their head coach too. To me, that's part of the issue, is where is the problem and how do you find out how you address it? Now, again, leadership issues and all the such, I think those are what the league needs to do. And to me, Evan, owners need to figure out, okay, what is the issue and how do we make it equitable? The Rooney Rule was the way to do this, apparently. And we know the Rooney Rule, while most things that have good intentions show up that way, they start well. They just don't deliver on what they were meant to do. And I think when you look at not only the Rooney Rule, but when you look at this proposal, that again, I think universally, at least 90% of my observations of people talking about it disagree with it. Okay, but to me, it's like, again, I find, and I'm going to get on my soapbox, Evan, so get ready. In society today, we have huge problems. There's no question. And we always want an easy answer. We don't ever want to do the hard work to peel back the layers of what the issue really is. And I think this is that again, Evan. I think we're not finding out what the issue is and why there isn't more opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have the exact answer myself, but I think, as you mentioned, these NFL teams, they're family businesses. Often they're passed down from one generation to the next. And I think these teams have a certain model in place, and they're kind of set in their ways as how they want to run that business and the type of people they want to hire. And I just think they're not doing a good enough job of being open-minded to new ideas and new philosophies and hiring different types of people. So I think it kind of comes down to that.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that 100%. And I think that you have to look at, again, the system, how it's baked together, what is causing that lack of diversity. Because again, the NFL, if you look at the population of the NFL from a player perspective, heavily African-American, right? There's no question. And so why is that not represented in the coaching ranks? And could it be, by the way, that it's not just an issue that the NFL can solve? See, that's the other thing. I understand the NFL is all powerful and the way people look at them and what they're able to do. But if that's the case, are there enough opportunities for coaches and general manager candidates, people working in the front office, working in athletics in college, that creates the opportunity and experience needed, and able to or to enable them maybe a step up to do that. And again, you hire the best person, absolutely. But is this an issue that we need to look at that's deeper than just, hey, hire the right person in the NFL? I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert in it. We'll work on getting a guest on it because I think it is an issue, and I think you have to figure out what you're going to do. But to me, this really cheapens everything and doesn't give, I think, a clear opportunity to find a fix for it. What you're going to do is you're going to preemptively punish teams. But let's say they didn't have any openings, right? Because the proposal, here's the proposal, just so you guys know, in case you haven't read up on it. An NFL team that hires a minority coach will be rewarded by having its third-round pick the following year before the coach's second season improved by 6 places. Okay? A team that hires a minority at general manager would see that third-round pick jump 10 spots. And for the NFL team that hires minorities as coaches and general manager, a jump of 16 whole spots. So again, let's say you're a team that finishes in the top, the bottom 10, and you have a number 10 pick in that round. And then you have a team that won the Super Bowl, and their coach leaves and they clean house and they hire a general manager and a coach, both minorities. You could have the Super Bowl team jumping up. So to me, again, it's not an equitable system. I don't know who came up with it, but again, Evan, I think that the NFL addressed the issue. It's good that they're talking about it, but come up with a different way.
Yeah, what's interesting is if you think about, excuse me, the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule was put in place just to get minority coaches interviews, just an opportunity to interview. And clearly that has not satisfied what the NFL is looking for. And now they're stepping it up and making a greater incentive that now if you not only do if you interview a minority candidate, if you hire that person, now we'll even reward you with, like, as you said, a draft pick. So they're definitely trying to apply more pressure to teams. But again, I agree with you 100%. I don't think this answers the problem. And without having any data here to say, is it a lack of candidates, or are owners just not willing to go with a minority person? It's hard to pinpoint the exact problem right here.
Yeah, and I have John Q in our YouTube chat saying, stop talking in circles. That's the reason why you penalize the teams, to stop the owners from BSing with their staff. Yeah, but John, here's the point though. You penalize teams that didn't do anything. What if you didn't have an opening? So if you don't have an opening, you should be leapfrogged? That makes no sense. It's not logical. You can say I'm talking in circles, but here's the reality of it. The reality of it is, if you don't have an opportunity to open up a job and consider a minority candidate, then you get punished. How is that fair? How is it fair to punish a team that did nothing wrong? Now, that team then has an opening and they hire a minority, then they get rewarded. But if they don't have an opening and they don't hire a minority, then they get punished. It makes little sense to me. So I get it. The issue has to be addressed. Okay. But again, this isn't the way to do it. I mean, I don't find anybody out there who believes that this is the way to do it. And I agree with them. I just don't think that you're going to get to solve the problem, nor get to the core issue of what the problem is, which is making sure there's an equal playing field and level playing field for opportunity, not to get a job, but for opportunity.
And Scott, one other thing I was just thinking, what about an organization like the Raiders, who have been trailblazers in this type of thing? I mean, Reggie McKenzie was the general manager of this team just a couple years ago. Now, I know this would be a rule that would be put in place in the future, but again, you would be penalizing a team like the Raiders, who may not have an opening at that point in time, but has always been an organization that has done a great job at addressing this issue. So again, it's very dicey.
No, and again, anybody who denies that there's an issue, I think there's an issue there, a problem there. Excuse me, I'm doubling up on my words. But to me, again, I think that you can't punish teams for not doing something when they had nothing to do. Now you can say, well, then if the teams didn't have an opening, then they don't get punished. But then you're already going back on what you say that system is going to be, which is letting the leapfrog a pick. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think the discussion is always healthy. Any way you can make the game better, to me, I'm all for it. And like you said, Evan, the Raiders have been at the forefront of that and continue to do that. Although they got criticized with the hiring of John Gruden and the fact that they wanted to go get their guy. But that's a whole different equation, I think. All right. Well, we're going to step aside for our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Shlomo Sprung. He is a sports writer with Forbes.com, and we're going to talk about the Raiders ticket prices. A lot of you upset this week saying you can't come to games now because the secondary market has gotten so high that you're just not going to be able to afford it. We're going to talk to him about the reasons why the prices, and it's not just because the Raiders are in the first year here. There's other reasons there too. But why are the ticket prices the hottest in the NFL? Why are they so high? We'll talk to Shlomo Sprung right after the break. You're listening to The Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
The American
15.
The only way to take Silver and Black today with you is with a radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
All right, welcome back to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio. Hope you're having a great Sunday. Also, just want to pass out our condolences to the George family. Of course, we lost broadcasting legend Phyllis George at 70 this morning. Of course, Phyllis co-hosted the groundbreaking NFL Today on CBS starting in 1975. Not only a pioneer for women's broadcasting, but in TV in general, opened so many doors for people. And it's a sad news that we lose her at such an early age from a blood disorder, but our best out to her family. Okay, now we're going to get into the ticket prices. Yes, I heard a lot of you complaining over the course of the week in Raider Nation about ticket prices, because coming to Las Vegas, everyone knew the ticket prices would go up. But on the secondary market, a story by our next guest, Mr. Shlomo Sprung from Forbes, who joins us now from New York, did a story about the secondary market and how the Raiders have just blown away this market. Now, it's early, we know, but there's no sense that this will go down a ton, and we'll tell you why. Shlomo, thank you for joining us here on the Silver and Black today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
All right, so let's jump into this. First of all, I think that, fans first saw this, especially Raider fans who, again, according to your publication and others going back to last year, the Raiders in Oakland were, I think, 21st in ticket price in the league, so near the bottom, right? So it was always easy, and people will tell you, you could roll up to the Oakland Coliseum, you could get a get-in ticket very, very cheap over the last several years. Now, they move here, they expected the prices to go up, but the prices now are in the secondary market. A lot of people think this is what the Raiders are charging. That is not the case. Explain to us a little bit. Let's start with, first of all, the secondary market for tickets. I know you talked with TicketIQ, who keeps this data, and it's quoted in your story, which is linked up on our website. But when you look at this, Shlomo, and you look at the price increases over last year, talk a little bit about why the Raiders ticket prices have gone up so much so fast.
Well, I think it's a variety of reasons. You have the personal seat licenses for Allegiant Stadium, which sold out really, really quickly. So those are all a lot of season tickets that, you can't have on the primary market that may not have happened in the Oakland Coliseum as much. So you have that increase as well. And, the demand, for something new and something fresh and something interesting in Las Vegas is always going to be there. And now that's kind of compounded by, the pandemic we're going through now. And so, you don't know when the next real big event is going to be in Las Vegas. And so that might be the Raiders. And so that's shooting up prices as well. And while Las Vegas is a destination city, as we all know, so, fans of Raider Nation from all over the country are going to flock to Las Vegas for that. The Oakland Coliseum, kind of widely regarded as one of the worst stadiums in all of American professional sports. Not really that destination place like Las Vegas is.
Right. Absolutely. And to me, it's one of those things where, somebody's in trouble. Ambulance in New York City. I miss those sounds. But Shlomo,
the only sound we get now.
I know, it's unfortunate. And we look at these ticket prices, and like you mentioned, because of the pandemic and everything like that, I think people's expectations were that, they'd go up, but they wouldn't go up this much. But when you look at the Raiders, talk about the increase again. According to TicketIQ, the prices for the Raiders tickets on the secondary market have gone up 527%. The next closest team is the New York Jets at 153. Bengals, of course, with Joe Burrow as their big pick. The Buccaneers, Tom Brady goes there. The Denver Broncos, a lot of excitement around their draft and what they're doing with their young roster. But when you look at this, I had a lot of people say to me, Shlomo, that, well, they'll come down. The ticket prices will come down. But what I found really interesting in the data that you dug into in your story on Forbes was that the secondary ticket market for NFL games has actually shrunk. There's not as much inventory. So people counting on prices to plummet significantly might be out of luck.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that could change if, things get, dramatically better with this pandemic. But it's been a league-wide trend since 2013 that the secondary market has shrunk every single year consistently. I think it's down something like 83 or 84% since last year. And if all these games that are scheduled, that the NFL scheduled, are kind of, in limbo or in doubt, the demand, the secondary market isn't going to put out tickets for games that they don't know are going to be scheduled during those times. So that factors in as well.
Yeah, no question. And I think, again, we're talking to Shlomo Sprung from Forbes, and we're talking about the Raiders ticket prices being the hottest ticket in the NFL, the highest price, the highest increases when you look at that. In fact, the TicketIQ data has the 10 most expensive teams, the Raiders at 1,098, Broncos 774, the Cowboys at 646, just to name the top three. Evan, you had a question for Shlomo, correct?
I do. Hi, Shlomo. My question is,
Hey.
obviously there's a lot. This is a unique season with the pandemic that's going on. We don't know if fans will even be allowed in stadiums. And you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but obviously there's a lot of excitement around the Raiders moving to Las Vegas. Now, my philosophy has always been, when I'm thinking about going to a game, is to try to wait out those higher ticket prices. I'll wait, a week or two before the game, and hopefully those ticket prices will drop. Is there any data out there that maybe from past seasons that would suggest that people who are thinking about buying a ticket to a Las Vegas Raiders game, do you feel that their patience will be rewarded by a lower ticket price?
Well, given that the Raiders are in a new city and a new stadium, and 4 of those games are going to be prime time on national TV, those like big games, against teams like the Saints and the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, where we're seeing the 3 most expensive tickets of any game in the whole season, there are a lot of kind of new data points that it's hard to kind of go out and predict what's going to happen on the secondary market 2 weeks before the game. It's hard to say. We're kind of in uncharted territory, and for all these people who are going on vacation or making Las Vegas a destination, especially if we don't see UFC events or boxing events in Las Vegas, or we don't see, the Aviators, or we don't see a major sporting event in Las Vegas until the Raiders start playing, those all factor into the ticket prices maybe not dropping as much as a lot of fans in the area would prefer.
Again, talking to Shlomo Sprung from Forbes magazine. And Shlomo, let me ask you this question. When you look at this ticket data, a lot of folks, chime in and they say, well, here you go. This is all the scalpers and all that kind of stuff. Do you have any sense from TicketIQ that the tickets on the secondary market, who's the source of those sales? Do we have a good number on that?
Well, I think TicketIQ, their whole appeal is that they source all this data from, SeatGeek and StubHub and all these different places, and they try to aggregate all that data onto their site. That's kind of their niche and where they live. And so that's how they kind of compiled all this data together.
Yeah. And to me, the other thing I was going to ask you was, again, there's so many unknowns here, right? Everybody would love football to come back as it was, meaning fans in the stands and all this stuff. We still don't know. The NFL just gave direction on team personnel, not necessarily players, going back to facilities if their states are opening up. But when you look at this situation, the ticket market overall for the NFL, and you mentioned it up at the top of the interview, Shlomo, is really going to be in flux, and a lot could change. Is there any sense to what may happen from a legal perspective or from a season ticket holder perspective? Should the NFL have to proceed without fans?
Right, and there's always a chance that if they can't proceed without fans, there's still the option for the NFL to kind of shift the season back, either moving, week 1 and week 2, or, week 3 and week 4, even past week 17, and extend, the regular season and the whole season and push off the Super Bowl that way. Or they could just say, listen, we want to have in as much of a sense of normalcy as possible, and then we don't have fans, and then the league will probably, go and try to see what will happen with these games, just like, the NBA and the NHL are dealing with the regular season games that are going to end up being lost across the league. And so the NFL is going to have precedent with the other leagues to see what would happen with those tickets if if fans, can end up going up in the stands for those games.
Again, we're talking to Shlomo Sprung from Forbes. He covers sports. And Shlomo, let me ask you this too about the NFL before we let you go here in the next couple minutes. TV. Now, of course, if the NFL proceeds, and again, we're just making complete guesses here because we don't know for sure. But if the NFL were to proceed without fans in the stands, or a limited number of fans in the stands, and television, or if their schedule had to be altered, because we don't know that, even though the NFL has said continually that they plan on playing a full schedule, if they were to have to cut back on games, how does that impact the TV revenue and what TV networks would want to do should the games be curtailed or shortened?
Well, sure. If TV, if the season is shortened, obviously the TV networks are going to ask for that money back, from the the rights deal, like they're not getting inventory. Why should they have to pay for something they're not getting? And that's the same kind of mindset that the fans should have. Like, why should we pay money for games that we can't attend? You know, we pay our hard-earned money. Right now, the $1,100 per ticket is almost the price of the national stimulus check that, you know, everybody's been getting. And so they, you know, especially in the economic climate that we're in, the fans should, and, you know, they should have the absolute right to get that money back if they're not able to go to games. So there's just so much uncertainty and so much in flux that it's really hard to say anything definitively. As you said, there are just, you know, so many variables out there that could happen, so much unknown.
Well, I do know that if you want to keep up with what's going on with sports and on the business side too, much of what we were talking about today, make sure you follow Shlomo on Twitter, but also his work on Forbes.com. Does excellent work there. I highly recommend. And Shlomo, we'll have you on again. We appreciate you being on with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I hope everyone's safe and healthy out there.
Same to you guys. Keep getting better in New York. We are keeping you in our thoughts always. Thanks again. All right, we're going to step aside for a break real quick, and when we come back, we'll be back to talking Raiders. Me and Evan Groat, we're going to talk about this sticker shock. Want to hear what you have to say. Jump on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Tell us what you think. We want to get into some of your comments about this rise in ticket prices and how it might impact you coming to a game in Las Vegas. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Get a multi-policy discount by combining your...
This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
All right, we are back talking Raiders football. Again, a big thank you to Shlomo Sprung from Forbes talking to us about the Raiders ticket prices, and I see a lot of folks chatting online about it as well. And, you know, Evan, I mean, you're a longtime Raiders fan. I know you're up on the East Coast, but you go to games when you can. And I think that, again, yes, there's a sticker shock, okay? There is always when you have something new, whether you build a new stadium, whether you move to a new market, there's always going to be change. And that part of that change is going to be cost. The only thing I can associate it with personally, I grew up in San Diego. When I was in San Diego, and the Padres built Petco Park, and I was a season ticket holder in the old stadium, Qualcomm Stadium, whatever name you want to call it. And when they moved over in 2004 to Petco Park, I got first dibs at season tickets, and the tickets almost tripled, right? They were still, it's baseball, so they were still affordable. I sat in the outfield. I wasn't buying home plate. I wasn't buying big money tickets, but everything went up. The cost of the Coke, the cost of the beer, the cost of parking, because you were downtown now. Everything rose. But I think the sense there was, look, we got a brand new stadium. This is going to make the team more competitive. They have more opportunity for revenue. It's a better experience for the fan. You name it, right? But with the Raiders, what I'm seeing a lot, I think, is sticker shock. But you have to expect it, and you can't think that you're going to be able to roll up to Allegiant Stadium, Evan, and pick up a seat for $18.
Yeah, I think this is what happens when, and no disrespect to Oakland or the Coliseum, I actually I didn't get out there to see a game. I've seen the Raiders play in other away teams' stadiums, but this is what happens when you upgrade from the Oakland Coliseum to this state-of-the-art, billion-dollar stadium in Las Vegas. I use the example that when I graduated from college, I moved to New York City, and for the first year that I was in New York, I lived in the Bronx, and I was paying $500 a month for rent. Well, then I moved into the city of Manhattan, and I was paying $2,000 for rent. So I mean,
right.
When you make an upgrade like this to a bigger city that's vibrant, a tourist city, this comes with the territory.
No, it does, and I think that's the point. I'm not saying it doesn't suck. Believe me, if you could go to 4 games last year, and now because of the pricing, you are now going to go to 1. I understand. It's a shock to the system. It's unfortunate. And I'm very open. Like the hockey team here, the Golden Knights, the prices on the secondary market were still high, right? The team was good from the get-go. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals their first year, right? How many times does that happen? So the prices for me are prohibitive enough, because I'm smart with my money, are prohibitive. I can't take my family of 6 to a game. If I took my family of 6 to a hockey game and just bought upper level seats, let alone down near the ice, you're talking about $1,200 just to go to a hockey game on a Wednesday during the winter, right? That it's not something I'm willing to do. So what do? Is I take each individual boy, my sons, with me, 1-on-1. We get a little one-on-one time. So instead of costing me $1,200, it probably costs me $250. Okay. But it does limit the number of games we can go to and the number of people I can take with me. So I get it. But remember, the key to remember, the ticket prices we talked about with Shlomo Sprung from Forbes, and what we talked about on the website, you can go catch the story on our website. Those prices, Evan, that's not the price of the tickets from the Raiders. That's the secondary market. So before you get angry at the team and say, F them, they priced me out, that's not what they did. The ticket prices for the games are in line with most stadiums and most NFL teams. The secondary market, there's still deals to be had. Evan, you got one, right, for the Bills game?
Yeah, I purchased my tickets just about 2 weeks ago. Well, right when the schedule came out, I jumped on a guy on the secondary market who was on Twitter, and I bought tickets for $350. Now, I believe I'm in section 300, which appears to be a pretty decent seat based on what I can see online and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I see the average ticket price is being sold for what, $1,000 it says on that Forbes website. So I feel like I got a bargain. I feel like I got a bargain at $350, and so I'm happy with it, to be honest. And I just want to touch on something else. I never went to a game out in Oakland. I said that already. And so, yeah, it may prohibit fans who are going to 5 or 6 games a year to go see the games. But now they're getting fans like me who are willing to travel out to Vegas to see a game. Again, no disrespect to Oakland, but I wasn't traveling. I was not going to spend the money to travel to Oakland to see a game in that stadium. And I hear the experience was great and all that. But for me, I need more of an attraction, and Las Vegas does that for me. In fact, now I'm bringing my wife with me as well. So, they may not get the fan that goes to 5 or 6 games a year, but they're going to get the guy like me who will make that trek for, one game. And I'm going to spend money out in Las Vegas. I'm going to go to the casinos. I'm going to go to dinner and shows and do all that while I'm out there.
Well, and that's the point. Las Vegas is a destination city. And you said no disrespect to Oakland. And I don't have any respect for the stadium. The stadium was dilapidated. It was terrible. I know you guys have memories there. I'm not belittling that at all. Memories. I used to make memories when I lived in California as a kid. We would hit bonfires in the middle of a forest area. It was crap. There's nothing out there, but that area has memories for me. So I get it. But again, I use this analogy, Evan. I said, listen, imagine you lived in a 50-year-old condo, 1 bedroom, like efficient condo that was kind of run down, and you're used to paying your electric bill. You're used to paying this. You're used to paying that. And then you move into a 5,400 square foot house that overlooks a beautiful area with a pool, right? Everything goes up. The cost of everything goes up. And the thing is, ticket prices on the secondary market, again, folks, you can call it greed, but that's individuals selling the tickets. Is there ticket brokers on there too? Yes, but things like StubHub and Ticket Exchange, those are season ticket holders selling their tickets. I've seen and had many contact me who said, yeah, I'm selling the first game to pay for most of my season. So they are Raiders fans, and you can argue whether they're not they're real Raiders fans or not because they won't go to the first game. I argue it's money, it's business, and you have to separate business from your fanhood. And that's what they've done, Evan, is they're selling tickets. So you can call it greed, but I find that most of the time greed is through the lens of the beholder because, or the eye of the beholder, because what happens is that you have the money to buy those tickets. You don't care, right? But most people don't have $1,100 to drop on a single seat in the upper level for a Raiders game. I get that. I wouldn't do it either. Okay. But that doesn't mean people are being greedy. That's the market. It's called free market. That's how our society operates. So I know it's disappointing. I know that some people like James Farrell on our YouTube channel now going crazy with greed. It's not greed. It's demand. If there's not demand there, then people don't pay the fund. And again, those prices could come down, Evan. And you got a good deal, like you said. And outside of that first game, I think you will be able to see the ticket prices stabilize a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways you can look at it. This is also being in Vegas, playing in this new stadium. This is also going to bring a lot of benefits to the organization. For example, no state taxes, income taxes in Nevada. That's a big factor. In fact, Trent Brown mentioned it on my podcast. He said, we're not sad to see those state taxes go out in California. So I think fans, once they see that some of the benefits that will come with this, players wanting to come to play for this organization, possibly winning more games, I think they might get past the fact that the ticket prices are so high. And plus, once they get into the stadium and see how beautiful it truly is, I think that'll help kind of ease some of their tensions.
Yeah, but we're getting people on the chat, Evan, saying, "Oh, this is a blemish on the Raider." Come on, Donald, let's go. How is it a blemish on the organization? Get out of here. They don't sell the tickets. They're not selling them on the secondary market. They're not the fans spending $1,100 on a ticket to see the opening game. That's crap. Come on. I mean, you have to look at it from this perspective. Many of you have been spoiled. You've been spoiled in a way with cheaper tickets because your team played in a bad stadium. And your team has not been good for 20 years, exception of 2 years, okay? That's not me bagging on the Raiders. That's just truth. Look at the records, okay? So the market has been suppressed. The market has been very soft. There has not been a big demand for Raiders tickets. Now there is. Now you'll be in Las Vegas. Now you'll have a brand new stadium, a better team, and there you go. So if you guys are upset about it, again, I'm not saying you should be upset about it because if I couldn't go to more games, I can't go to as many Golden Knights games as I want with my boys. So I understand it. Like, I'm not invalidating your feeling, but your reasoning and the fact that you are saying that this is the Raider organization, it's just not. The general public needs to understand it's a secondary market. I've said it a million times during the show, and I will continue to do so. But anyway, it's a great discussion. I respect all viewpoints. So thank you for chiming in. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll have our last segment. We'll close out the show. Evan and I will talk about Raiders traditions. Which ones will come here? Which ones will maybe go away? And which new ones will start and the new home of Raider Nation? That, of course, is Las Vegas. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Clear. Here we go.
How you doing? This is Charlie Garner, and you're listening to Silver and Black today. Stay tuned.
Indeed. Stay tuned. Charlie Garner bringing us back in, right? Right up the middle. I'll go behind him, right? Welcome back to Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. We are streaming on YouTube. We do still have a little bit of sync issues. Our crack engineer, the man, DJ Max, is back in the studio, and he is now going to help us fix it permanently this week. So next week, it will not look like a Godzilla movie, okay? I promise you, but thank you for sticking with me. The chat on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter has been awesome. You guys are going back and forth, and it's great. I'm getting people telling me how to do interviews. I'm getting people talking about ticket prices, and it's also one of those things. And thanks, Kurt. I appreciate it, man. Let me know where your show's at, and I'll listen. But anyway, thanks for the feedback, both constructive from a criticism standpoint and from a praise standpoint. We appreciate you guys being here. Okay, so we talked about the ticket prices. Now we also look at traditions. One of the things, Evan, and you know this being a Raider fan, you're also a Yankee fan, which I have to forgive you for. But nonetheless, when you look at traditions, I think I'm hearing a lot of people setting themselves up for disappointment, right? And what I mean by that is I've seen a lot of people say, if they don't do this X, whatever that tradition is in Vegas, then they're going to ruin everything. Okay. So my problem with that is there are traditions that have to come forward. There are things that you should not change. There are things that are sacred that you want the Raiders to continue to do. I mean, they're going to have the torch, of course, the big torch now, the Al Davis torch, and they'll continue to have people light that as they always do. The Black Hole has announced they will be there. Okay. So there's going to be some semblance of normalcy, if you will, if you were a Bay Area Raiders fan. At the same time, the one thing I will tell you is that you can't expect everything about what happened in Oakland to come to Las Vegas, nor should it, okay? Some of those traditions, some of the things you guys are used to, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And I think some of you are doing it on purpose because you want to get mad when you're here, if that makes sense, Evan. But to me, there are some traditions, but you have to also know that this is going to be their new home. They have a new stadium, a new place to play. And so there are going to be new things that pop up. There's going to be new traditions. I mean, am I all wet on this, Evan?
No, I think you're correct. And you mentioned that I am a big Yankee fan, and I apologize to those people listening outside of New York. But I lived in New York City from 2007 to 2011. Now, those of you who don't know, the Yankees moved into the new Yankee Stadium in 2009. So I was there for the ending of the old Yankee Stadium and the beginning of the new stadium. And I'm all for tradition, and I'm not a big fan of change myself. And I understand history and tradition. 26 world championships in that old Yankee Stadium. Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, legends of the game played on that field. But guess what? You know, you opened up this new stadium, and in 2009 they win a World Series in that stadium. So the Raiders are going to make new memories. There's going to be new traditions, and as you said, some of the old traditions will be brought along to this new stadium in Vegas.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think that I'm seeing some folks here talk about, are we going to be able to dress up? Look, I know that the costumes and, you know, folks like our good friend Wayne Mabry, the Violator and Gorilla Rilla, those guys, I think they're going to be there. The Raiders haven't said definitively right on that stuff yet, Evan, but I think there will be. I think the days of free reign on doing a lot of things that happened in Oakland, those are definitely gone. You're not going to get away with some of the stuff that happened in Oakland. You're just not. Okay. There's going to be tighter security. The tickets, yes, the value of the ticket. It's like, look, you have an audience now that is spending a lot more money to see the team. Now you can say that's going to take something away from the game or from the fandom or whatever. And I wouldn't devalue your argument. I don't agree with it, but I think that's the reality. The reality is, yes, people are going to pay a lot of money to sit inside Allegiant Stadium. So some of the things that you were used to seeing in Oakland are not going to happen. Plus, if you've ever seen Las Vegas and the way the Metropolitan Police Department handles people here, you can't start crap here. You're not going to see a lot of fist fights. You're not going to see all this stuff. It's just not going to happen. Okay? Doesn't mean that you have to take away the edge. I think the Raiders will find, and I think the fans, the mixture of Bay Area legacy fans, Los Angeles fans, remember them? They have just as much claim to the Raiders. And they are going to be here. And then you'll have the mix of Las Vegas fans, Evan. And together, I think you're going to find a lot of new things pop up.
Yeah, one of the complaints I have been hearing from fans is that they feel that it's going to be more of a neutral field atmosphere, not as pro Raider. And I disagree with that. I think it'll still have a very pro Raider feel inside the stadium. And obviously, there are going to be some more fans coming in from the away team, obviously, because Vegas is a destination city. But I would strongly anticipate that the Raider Nation is going to rally and travel and make sure that they're supporting the team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think at the end of the day, you just have to remain open-minded, okay? Yes, things will change, so get used to it. Doesn't mean you're going to like all of it, but I think the Raiders and the fans will dictate what happens and what traditions will be born out of the Mojave Desert. What will happen? What will you see at games? What new characters will pop out? If people are allowed to dress up, what new characters may you see? I think you'll see some people who are here in Vegas who
Probably
weren't
Elvis.
there.
Elvis, maybe,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I had an early listener here on the show, Raider Elvis, who he said he was like 3-something hundred pounds and he was going to dress up and go to games. So we'll see
Maybe
if that holds.
Maybe I'll take that character. Maybe that'll be me out in the black hole. I'll dress up as Elvis when I'm out there week 4.
That'll work, man. It'll be good. But we are up towards the end of the show again, and we're on summer hours. And so it's only an hour, but we've tried to pack in as much as we can. And again, I want to thank Evan. I want to thank you for guest hosting with us today, man. I appreciate it. And make sure you subscribe to the Just Pod Baby podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Scott. And I look forward to joining you again sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure that this week's podcast with Evan, by the way, which you can get on all the platforms, he talked to Isaiah Johnson, of course, the cornerback for the Raiders. Great interview, Evan, and I think people should listen to that. I'm really excited about that group, so we'll see how it all ends up. But I want to thank also, again, DJ Max back in the studio for doing all this. We will fix the audio video issues. We wanted to get back on video so that you guys could get some normalcy, and we'll be able to fix that this week so we won't look like Godzilla next week. But we appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you check out silverandblacktoday.com for everybody here and for all of us at Silver and Black Today. Thanks for listening. And also, may the autumn wind always be at your back. And we will talk to you guys next week. Take care, everybody.
You're clear, but we're dead air. There we go.
Saturday Sports Beat comes your way each week right here on CBS Sports.
I wonder why it doesn't have bump music there.
And on radio.com. Hi, I'm Tony.
Yeah, I know.
Granasco.
We should ask
Join
Mark.
me
I don't know what the
as
deal
I
is.
provide
He needs to
insight,
put in,
news,
yeah.
opinions,
Everybody
and
else has
updates on all the lost.
Yeah.
Is there a delay?
No, I just don't hear anything.
Opioid overdoses will affect many lives.
Because on the other station, if you do that, there's like a massive delay for some
or a
reason.
young father.
Oh, really?
Like
Yeah.
Greg Denton, who
Anyway.
overdosed September 12th, 2012.
Okay.
Before.
I
Boom,
did
boom, boom,
overdose
boom.
on opioids.
You'll
All right,
be
man.
top-
So